One of the most important developments in election campaigns over the past 7-8 years has been the advent of social media. It has fundamentally changed the ways in which candidates and parties have conducted their campaigns, and has fundamentally changed the way in which citizens are exposed to political information. So what is the impact that this has on the outcome of an election? It could mobilize certain segments of the electorate. For example, in the Scottish referendum, it did mobilize 16 and 17-year-olds who were voting for the first time. In terms of the last general election held in the UK, we know that there were over 7 million tweets leading up to the campaign. And in those that came from parties, we know that most of them came, or about almost 50% came from the Labour Party, and about 30% came from the Conservative Party. But we know that the outcome of the election went in the other direction, and the Conservative Party won a decisive victory. So we have to have a much more nuanced understanding of the impact of the social media on campaigns. And that's for several reasons. For one reason, we know that people who seek out information on social media are likely to be engaged in politics anyway. We also know that people select out information that's consistent with their own preferences, so they're not likely to be exposed to opposing views. And we also know that amongst young social media users that they're not sharing political information. That's a very small segment of the information that they share and that they're exposed to on social media. So yes, social media has changed the conduct of elections, but we have to have a much more nuanced understanding of its impact on the outcome.
So, the evolution of political campaigns reminds you a little in a political history. The US is a clear example of such evolution in certainly the campaign since John F. Kennedy to, of course, Donald Trump. Till 1940, the party provides the concept and elements of the campaign. For example, in printed media, that propaganda certain of partisan organs. Until 1960s, the medium or the principal medium was radio and TV, and of course advertising messages and the publisher influence in the behavior of the voters. Until 1919, the best media were radio, TV, and spectaculars, and persuasion from the identification of the elector needs. For example, the communication was marketing. And from the year and nowadays, for example, identification of profiles of the electorate and district allocation. And of course, in last year with Donald Trump campaign, and before that Obama campaign, is the direct content and include social media. And for example, the pioneer in this to use this tool was Barack Obama, that he changed the game, although he used traditional media outlets and ran some negative spot. His campaign was based on a positive message and create iconic poster that was seen in the street across America. The internet blogs and message boards carried the message of hope across the nation. Obama's use of the modern methods, plus his youth and charm, completely upstaged his much older traditional Republican opponent. So the one show among other our shall recognize the power of this campaign as a breakthrough in modern political advertising. It will not do shape the future of politics in America and around the world.
The power that the messages that politicians have in their ads have a great impact, since these messages are shared thousands of times. Being leaders, their words carry a great burden. They must be responsible because a lie told, or in this case repeated a thousand times, can become an undeniable truth. Although the responsibility also falls on the media, they do not stop to review or analyze the information. What they seek is to generate flashy headlines to generate profits in their advertising spaces. The public is exposed to these two great dangers that are forged in political ads.
So, the evolution of political campaigns reminds you a little in a political history. The US is a clear example of such evolution in certainly the campaign since John F. Kennedy to, of course, Donald Trump. Until 1940, the party provides the concept and elements of the campaign. For example, in printed media, that propaganda certain of partisan organs. Until 1960s, the medium or the principal medium was radio and TV and of course advertising messages and the publisher influence in the behavior of the voters. Until 1919, the best media were radio, TV, and spectaculars, and persuasion from the identification of the elector needs. For example, the communication was marketing. And from the year and nowadays, for example, identification of profiles of the electorate and district allocation. And of course, in last year with Donald Trump campaign and before that Obama campaign is the direct content and include social media. And for example, the pioneer in this to use this tool was Barack Obama, that he changed the game although he used traditional media outlets and ran some negative spot. His campaign was based on a positive message and create iconic poster that was seen in the street across America. The internet blogs and message boards carried the message of hope across the nation. Obama's use of the modern methods, plus his youth and charm, completely upstaged his much older traditional Republican opponent. So the one show among other hours shall recognize the power of this campaign as a breakthrough in modern political advertising. It will no doubt shape the future of politics in America and around the world.
As an example, we can focus on the current President of the United States. Donald Trump used social networks as great allies in his political campaign. Even some analysts agree that Facebook and Twitter were key to Trump winning the election. The impact of social networks was present in the last elections. Trump used social media with a celebrity nature, managing to connect with people and attract the attention of his opponents. In the end, Trump had such a large fan base that anything he published was heard around the world without the need to invest a dollar in traditional media.
Now he's running for US president indeed, but may already be the king of Twitter. Donald Trump's quest for the Republican presidential nomination is being feared in part by his reliance and dominating presence on social media. His tweets make news nearly every day. Hendrik Sbrandi looks at the Trump Twitter phenomenon.
Donald Trump is a master of the declarative sentence.
I am going to be
He is clear.
the greatest jobs president
He is concise.
that God ever created.
He speaks in sound bites.
He is a media mastermind.
He is a soundbite candidate.
Wow, Senator Cruz, that is some low-level ad you did using a picture of Melania in a GQ shoot. Be careful or I will spill the beans on your wife. Trump is using social media like no politician has before,
He doesn't have a filter, and that works really well on Twitter.
says Samuel Jay of Metropolitan State University of Denver.
I mean, that spreads.
Fellow social media expert Matthew Kaskevich says Donald Trump's tweets stand out because they trigger high arousal emotions.
The content that he posts traditionally goes around two things, shock and surprise and fear.
This veteran of reality television knows how to grab the traditional media's attention,
Even if the headline
says Darrigan Silver of the University of Denver.
All he has to do is he has to tweet something really outrageous the night before. Boom. He's now not only in front of the public, but he's sucking up airtime that could be used to cover other candidates or other topics or other policies.
The approach has worked, at least in terms of numbers. Trump's over 31,000 tweets, one more provocative than the other, have garnered well over 7 million Twitter followers.
Saying something stupid does not hurt Trump.
Certainly not with his followers, who by retweeting his messages, experts say, help solidify his support.
Trump's Twitter base is just so massive that it's not just what he says, but once it's out there, they do the work for him.
Trump's tweets are now a part of pop culture, getting big laughs when singer Josh Groban put them to music on late-night television.
Never seen a thin person drinking Diet Coke.
In a year when U.S. voters crave authenticity in their candidates, Donald Trump is providing it, 140 characters at a time. I would like to extend my best wishes to all, even the haters and losers, on this special date, September 11th. It may not win him the White House, but campaigns may never be the same.
Those people that love him for the tweets, and that's part of the reason they love him.
Hendrik Sbrandi, CCTV, Denver.